Here am I on behalf of Valour Canada in a piece of France that many people don't know about. This is the site of what the Germans called the Wotanstellung. It's basically a mass of fortifications, and it's way behind the lines in August 1918. Because 30 miles behind me, on the 8th of August, Allied armies delivered a blow that would begin the 100 days, that great move eastwards, which would end on the 11th of November 1918. But by early September, the Canadians had arrived here, what was known to them as the Drocourt-Queant line, the DQ line for simplicity. And they were well aware it was going to be a tough nut to crack. As we look around me now, there's absolutely no cover. There's some bits of woodland, there's a few villages, but nothing else. And we have to imagine here barbed wire, trenches, gun positions, machine guns, shell holes, all prepared to blunt the assault of the 1st and 4th Divisions under General Currie. The plan was originally to use tanks. They weren't available. To actually bring up more artillery, they simply weren't available. Many of the men had actually been fighting since early August and they were exhausted. Many of those men actually were conscripts. They hadn't been in the army very long and weren't desperately well trained. But they knew unless they broke this line, the war would simply drag on. And the idea was to conclude this as quickly as possible and allow the French to our south to exploit. The plan included the use of the Canadian Motor Machine Gun Corps, effectively armoured cars. They were actually meant to break through and then rush towards the Canal du Nord, the next big obstacle. It's a drained canal, which is an obstacle to any advance. What actually happens is basically a battle showing how much life has changed for soldiers. In less than a month, they've advanced 30 miles from Amiens in this area. 30 miles doesn't sound much. It's not what you call blitzkrieg, but compared to tens of yards in 1916, this is now real lightning war. And in the action that begins here on the morning of the 2nd of September, despite shortage of artillery, despite no tanks at all, despite lots of problems with the motor machine gun armoured cars, they break through the DQ line. From there, they can then get across the Canal du Nord and carry on towards Boulogne. Eventually, Canadian soldiers who serve here will arrive in the city of Mons, which will be liberated on the 11th of November, the conclusion of the 100 days. A key moment in the 100 days is the event of the 2nd of September 1918. General Currie's 2 divisions breaking the DQ line, which lays either side of me here. And we look at it today, it's just very ordinary farmers' fields. Just think how different it would have looked in 1918. And then think of the importance of the role played by Canadian soldiers in allowing that key breakthrough and that great move to the east that would end on the 11th of November. It's an indication of what was required to break the DQ line, that on a single day, the 2nd of September, the 1st and 4th Divisions of Currie's Canadian forces suffer a grand total of more than 5,600 men killed, wounded and missing, one of whom is Sergeant Knight we see here. And I think it's a measure of how much was required of these men, that actually a grand total of 7 VCs were awarded for that single day's action. And this is a replica of a Victoria Cross, awarded only for the highest levels of bravery. Sadly, Sergeant Knight was not aware of that, because this was awarded to his family after his death in battle, and he lies here with his other Canadian comrades.